commented on one of the videos that we released this week, and he has, I think, a really relevant question. And not just relevant, like it's relevant all throughout schooling, but I think even more relevant with the situation we're in. And he asked all of us what you think keeps kids motivated or unfortunately not so motivated being at school. So I thought, before I kick it around the table, Kel, I think from my point of view, so I've taught for, I don't know, like I've taught for 4 or 5 years, and I'm just a classroom teacher. I look at it from a teacher's point of view, not from a coordinator or a parent or a principal. But I think from what my students have told me, Kel, apart from obviously the love or not so loving of a subject, I think my students seem to tell me that what keeps them motivated is if they can strike a good rapport with the teacher. So even if the subject isn't to their liking, I think they will stay motivated and try strive to do their best if they have a connection with the teacher. If they think the teacher wants them to do well, if they really care for them, I think that plays a big part in keeping a student motivated, I guess, in the subject, and hopefully from a broader school point of sense as well. But obviously, like if you have a good if you're coming from a background where the parents really, I guess, push you outside of the classroom as well, I'm sure that, like everyone knows that it's a bit of a common sense thing. If you've got good support at home, you should probably bring that sort of motivation to school as well. That's my 2 cents. We'll throw it around. George, from your point of view, what do you think keeps a student motivated in their learning?
Yeah, really good question. Thanks for asking, Cal. And I did notice, like a lot of us did nod our heads as you're speaking as well, Simon. So I think, for me, it's probably that connection and those values really are a big selling point because someone's just messaged me on Teams. Why would someone message me on Teams at 9:24? Anyway,
You've already got live listeners, George. Obviously, they're already providing feedback.
It's a Saturday afternoon. Anyway, bless. But in terms of that motivation, it is that connectedness is really important. And I think you value that more than anyone else in terms of like you approaching the classroom. I think that's your main priority. It's not about being liked, it's more about being respected, but take that time to sort of really find a connection. It might be sport, it might be podcasting, it might be just general chats, it might be a range of things. But if you can find a way to sort of connect, that helps with the motivation. There's obviously times where it'll be a lot more extrinsic where, you could have that, it might need some rewards and stuff like that. But I think you develop that internal intrinsic motivation through that development in time. And, I think I'm more prouder of that in terms of seeing kids as learners grow and develop that than per se their, grades and marks at the end of the day. So, but yeah, it's a great question. And it's one that I think we wouldn't have the answer to specifically because I think we're looking for that answer. And that's what the joy of teaching is until we can find it for every particular kid. But yeah, go back to your values and key connections. But I'm sure, Hilson, you've got some words of advice as well.
Yeah, I concur with what you and Simon have said. I think it's very much we're in the relationships business, really. I think that's probably the one thing that I didn't really realize until I started teaching a couple of years ago. Your relationship is, your relationship with the students is probably the most important thing in
Totally agree.
In setting a really positive classroom culture, but also it has a huge impact, really significant impacts on their learning and obviously from their outcomes as well. So I definitely would concur and 100% would echo those 2 sentiments. I think it's interesting, George, you brought up 2 really interesting terms, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. I wonder what, I think like a mixture of both is really necessary. I think you do need some extrinsic motivation. It's some kind of, physical,
it's tangible, like
like a tangible goal to work towards. I know with a lot of our younger kids, especially, that could be like a reward at the end of the day. But yeah, I think intrinsic motivation is so interesting. I would love, perhaps this is something that we could start asking our students. What is it inside that drives you? For a lot of our students, I think it would be very much academic. I just want to do really well, and I want to get a really good ATAR at the end of the day, and I want to get as good as I can, or best results that I can on my CATs, on my SACs, on my exams and whatnot. But I think it does really come down to mindset as well. I think if you've got a really positive mindset and that growth mindset, which we'll get to later on in our chat today as well, but just that want and that desire to constantly better oneself, not just academically, I think that really plays a big part in terms of motivation.
Thank you for listening to Three Teachers Talk.
Remember to click like and subscribe to keep up to date with our latest conversations.
Keep the conversation going by giving us feedback and let us know what you want to talk about next. Thank you.